Rob Kendall speaking with Tyler Bless, the head coach of the Plainfield Quakers. Coach, how's it going?
Great. How are you doing, Rob?
Hey, great. So let's start with big win on Friday night. Obviously, a little bit different setup from the first 2 weeks. We talked about playing from behind. Your team kind of got the memo on Friday night, and it was probably nice to play from the front.
Yeah, it was a great change of pace for us, and I thought our kids, accepted the challenge from us coaches of putting 4 quarters together of Red Pride football, and I certainly think we were able to get probably, being picky, probably about 3.5 quarters of it, but certainly the start was great, and going into halftime with a 2-score lead. Really was something that we hadn't done this year, but felt like our kids responded well and played well enough to obviously earn a victory on Friday.
Yeah, I was thinking, as you guys went into the halftime with the 2-score lead, is the conversation different at halftime when you're up 2 scores, say being down 1 or 2 or tied? Does the conversation change based on what the scoreboard says?
Depending on how ahead you are or maybe behind you are, but really, probably not. I mean, you're trying to get with the coaching staff on both sides of the ball. You're trying to get your kids to sit down and relax and hydrate and take care of their bodies. But the message to us was just to continue to play football and continue to take it one play at a time. And if they wanted to. Make it a close game or fight with us in a way of, where we got to continue to play football, that's fine. If not, then we're going to control us and try to close it out. And felt like we were very close. Unfortunately, they got a score late that had kind of a bad taste in our mouth. But, that conversation at halftime is kind of maybe a reset and just, hey, relax. Let's find a way. Let's find a plan to execute in the second half and continue to do what we were doing in the first half, because I thought we played a really good first half of football. And the message on Friday was just to, continue to play football and execute and kind of let it take care of itself.
Yeah, let's talk about that first half, which was really great. Talk about some of the kids you were super impressed with. It sort of seemed like a complete team effort. Sometimes there's these great individual performances, and there always are, but it really seemed like a complete team effort to give you guys that big lead.
Yeah, we took the ball for the first time this season on our opening drive, and I know we converted on a 4th down and then kind of fizzled out, but we were able to chew up some clock. I can't believe I punted on the 34-yard line, but I felt like that was the best thing to do for our football team. Fortunately, it worked out because we had a great punt by Cameron Grimes that got our defense inside the 5 for them to drive 95 yards. And then we got them to punt. I think we may have touched their punter in a way that maybe someone would call roughing, but got another stop and got them able to punt. And then, during that whole sequence of events, you're kind of talking to your offensive coaches, talking to your quarterback, and Hunter Newell came to me. He's like, "Hey, I think we can beat them on a go route with Caden Vanderbush." And I think I've said this before on this podcast, where it's like sometimes you just got to trust your players, and that's something that I've always kind of been coached to do. And fortunately, we're able enough to do that on that second drive. On the first play, got a huge chunk yard by the catch by Caden, and then really that kind of propelled us to our first score. And then obviously our defense continued to play at a high level and execute the plan that we were wanting to do and try to contain their quarterback. Obviously, he's very athletic. Find a way in the second half to. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. Sorry, we just lost you there just momentarily, but we're back and we're recording, Coach. And that's the magic of technology, right? We can stop it when it needs to stop, and we can start it when it needs to start. So that's great. So no problem. Real quick, if you could just kind of touch on when you look at, you mentioned punting on the 34-yard line. What went into that choice? When you make hard choices, and you got to make them quick, right? Like, this isn't a battle plan. You don't have days to come up with the idea. You got to decide, am I punting? Am I going for 2? Who do you consult with, or is there anyone you consult with? Does it ultimately lie with you?
I think the first thing you have to look at in that situation on Friday was, I'd have to go back and look, but I think it was like 4th and 9 and 4th and 10. Like, we could easily have gone for it on 4th down and called an offensive play, but if you don't get that, or if you end up getting sacked, then those guys are getting the ball at, the 40-yard line, and now that just makes that field a little bit shorter for our defense to put in. So I probably ended up making that decision to say, hey, let's punt the football. Let's try to pin them down deep and make them drive it and make them earn the whole field, rather than, cutting the field in half and making it, 40 or 50, 60 yards for them to drive. But it's probably between Kevin and I, our special teams coach, of just, hey, let's put the punt team out there and try to execute a short punt and get our guys to run down and cover the ball and get it inside the 10. And we were able to do that.
One of the things I was asked to ask you by somebody who is a big fan of the broadcast is your decision to go for two. And we touched on this a little bit last week, but you go for two a lot. And it seems like it's not, hey, it's the first score of the game or it's the last score of the game. You like to go for two, and you've been very successful at it this year. What plays into that, whether the game's on the line or it's the first score of the game?
I think, if you're going to do it, then we're going to then I think the best way to do that is to show it every single time and make the opposing team spend time throughout their week trying to prepare on how to stop it and how to line up. So a little bit of some checkers and chess of, we want them to take time out of their week of normal practice preparation for them to spend time on how to line up and how to stop it. But we're going to line up in that probably 99% of the time after we score a touchdown. And if the look is there, we're going to execute it. And if it's not, then we're going to bring our PAT team in to kick a point after a touchdown kick. So I don't know if it's like I'm just this riverboat gambler and I'm just living on the edge. It's just, it's something that we've done and worked on since about, honestly, June, and it's been able to pay off in great dividends for us, and our kids are extremely excited about it, and they're invested. So that's just kind of a layer to the why of it.
Well, and when you look at the final score of the ball game, I think you guys added like 3 extra points based on your decision to go for two. So it clearly, in the aggregate, it pays off.
Yeah, I think the first one, we were a little bit antsy and wanted to snap it before that umpire got out of his way, and he wasn't moving at a pace that I would have liked. But I think I tried to express that in a very professional way to him. But after that, we were 3 for 3 and are able to get points. So if we can execute it, and if our guys continue to buy in, then it's 2 more points rather than 1, and the whole name of the game is to score more than they do.
And I love it because it makes the defense, you think about, okay, touchdown, everybody kind of takes the play off. If the guy can kick the ball through the center of the uprights, then it's an extra point. But you guys put more pressure on their defense, and I think there's more pressure from the two for a defense than there is on the offense.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Mooresville's first score, they did kick a PAT, but after that, when they scored late in the game, I believe they did go for 2, and it was just a normal offensive formation. But yeah, you definitely have to put into factor how far am I behind? What's do I kick it here? Or do I go for 2? So it's just a layer of competition for all of us.
Again, let's thank our fabulous sponsors that are making our broadcast possible all year long. CJ's Pizza, Whitlow's Towing, Gunnell Financial, Remax Centerstone, Julia Burbridge, BGW Construction, Porter Hair Design, Holly Porter, My IT Indy, I-70 Wrecker Service and Garage, and Ellis & Associates Remax. Coach, a lot of times when guys take over programs, hey, it's a struggling program, or, they just graduated 90 kids and it's a rebuilding effort. You inherited a sectional championship team that returned a lot of the core key players. Do you look around and go, wow, lucky me?
Almost every day, I'm very fortunate to be in the position I'm in, and you have to give a lot of credit to Coach Woodard on really the whole process of bringing me in last year for the 22 season as the head coach in waiting, just so I was able to, build those relationships with our kids and our coaches, and obviously be a teacher in the building has helped tremendously. But the program was in really good hands. Coach Woodard did a phenomenal job for 17 years. The guy cares deeply about it still to this day. I'm just very fortunate enough to be the one that gets to kind of carry the torch for the next handful of years or however long. But I've told people before, like, if the car's in great shape, it might just need, a new coat of paint or a fresh set of tires. But everything in terms of the body of it all is is established. And, we're very fortunate to have athletes that are, very invested into what we're asking them to do, and they want to win. And so do we as coaches. So it's been a great, nice little start to the season, and we're going to try to continue to go one day at a time.
One of the things you do on Twitter that I love is whether it's 7th grade or 8th grade or junior high or freshman, when they win, you post the score and you say winning is fun. And can you tell us a little bit about what that's about and what you're hoping to accomplish by that?
Yeah, I mean, the whole "it's fun to win" motto was, I kind of stole that from Chris Keevers, who was he's now the head coach at the University of Indianapolis, and I did a short stint there coaching in my early days as a GA, and he was the defense coordinator at the time, and that was kind of his, like, man, it's fun to win, like, it's just so sweet to win. And we as coaches kind of probably forget to enjoy those wins as hard as they are, and then it's kind of just stuck with me. If we lose, or when we lose, it sucks to lose. But you got to tell everybody it's fun to win. So when you get there and you've earned a victory, make sure that the kids understand that they have every right to enjoy it, and they should, because they're the ones that are playing the game of football. But the whole 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th JV. Those are our players. Those are our kids in our program, K through 12. So I want to recognize them for their hard work and for what their coaches are doing, and make it a Plainfield football thing rather than a Plainfield high school football thing.
Real quick, before we get to Perry Meridian, I was thinking, watching the broadcast 2 weeks ago, listening to the one on Friday that I wasn't able to be at. Your team is really interesting offensively because you're complete across the board. Like, it always seems like Plainfield, in the 16 years we've been doing this, had some sort of injury that left them at a deficiency somewhere. Hey, our best receiver is out, or the running back, or the quarterback. But right now, when you think about Starnes and Bowie, and then obviously your quarterback, Newell, you've got threats at all of the key offensive positions, and that's got to be a great feeling because it really opens up the playbook.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good problem to have for sure. When you have a 3-year starter at quarterback, that's a huge blessing. That guy's played a lot of football for us. Luke Starnes, being a kind of a newcomer for us, being a sophomore, has really had a great start to the season, and is kind of establishing himself as one of the top backs in our conference, and if not in 5A. Our offensive line has multiple guys back from year starting. Both of our tackles are 3-year starters. Our right guard's a 2-year starter. And our left guard started some games last year. And we've got some guys coming in at center with a sophomore and a senior kind of going in on rotation. And then we're again fortunate enough to have 2 tight ends that are kind of, one being a little bit higher, taller kid in Elijah Flowers, got some athleticism and does a good job in both run blocking and pass catching. And then Brandon Hendry's kind of that old school fullback mentality kid where, he just sees an opposite color and he wants to just go blow that person up. So he's done a great job doing that, but he's also gotten so much better at his ball skills. So I'm very proud of him in terms of the things that he needed to work on this offseason. And then you go to our receiver group, and I mean, you're talking about Caden Vanderbush, Jameer Bowie, Isaiah Miller, Marcos Rivera. I mean, there's plenty of guys that we're trying to get the ball to. It's just one of those things where week in and week out, the game kind of, in a way dictates what we call offensively or run pass. But I think within 3 games, we're like right under 70% run and 30% pass. So we're going to try to get that thing to 50 to 50 as much as possible. But I'm very pleased with our offensive efforts so far, and our offensive coaches are doing a phenomenal job to put the best 11 out on the field and trying to find ways to really just be efficient and get first downs and score in the red zone, or just score from anywhere on the field.
Well, perfect start to the season so far, 3-0. You got a top 10 ranked team, and Friday night, Perry Meridian's going to come back home. What do the Falcons bring to the table?
Yeah, Perry Meridian is a really up and coming team. I think they've gotten better each year that Coach Cooper has been there. They lost last Friday versus Franklin Community in overtime. They've won a game versus Southport, and then they they got beat week 1 versus Franklin Central, who's again a really good 6A team. So they've got some young kids in some spots, and then they've got some guys that have obviously played for them for a number of years. But it's a team that continues to get better week in and week out. They've got some really good athletes. It'll be a great test for us just because it's our next opponent and it's our next opportunity. But very excited to be able to come home here in the next 2 weeks and get some games behind our home crowd. And this week brings a few challenges just because it's Labor Day week, and we do not have school on Tuesday, being a teacher in service day. So just got to continue to tell our kids to take it one day at a time and take it one game at a time. And I think we'll be ready by the time Friday comes. But I told the kids yesterday, enjoy the weekend, but also be ready to go on Monday for a new opponent.
All right. Well, as we always wrap up our coaches show, because I think it's so important, we give credit to people who don't get a lot of credit. Couple people or person behind the scenes who make Plainfield football what it is.
Yeah, being into to week 3 now and getting ready to go into week 4 of the high school season, we've kind of gotten into a routine of how we practice and what our days look like Monday through Thursday. But a lot of these kids that I'm about to mention are sophomores, juniors, seniors that are our scout team players. So, kids that maybe are not getting a lot of reps on Friday night, or maybe they're on a special teams here and there. But, I try to convey to our team and all 78 guys, everyone has a role on our team, whether you get 1 snap or you get 78 or you get, 15, or if you don't get any, like you're finding a way to help us be successful on Friday night. So I'm going to roll call on some of these names from the last 3 weeks of Scout Players of the Week for offense, defense, and special teams. Austin Alexander, Grayson Harden, Drew White, Mason Mantooth, Darion Taylor, Mason Monday, Wesley Hinton, Nahom Tazgabi, Kayvon Hughes, Cameron Pritchard, Tyler Simic, Jacob Dellinger, Tucker Mitchell, Cohen Moore, Logan Ferris, and Camden East. So those are the guys that have been Scout Players of the Week the last 3 weeks for us. They do a phenomenal job, and all of our Scout players do. Like I said earlier, everyone has a role. You don't have to love it. You don't have to, it's not permanent, but everyone has a role to help us be successful on Friday night. So those kids have done a great job, and as well as the rest of our football team.
Well, it's more fun to play when you win. It's also more fun to announce when you win, and it's been a really fun first 3 weeks. So we'll look forward to seeing you out there Friday night. Let's get a big win, and we'll talk to you about a 4-0 Plainfield team next week.
All right. Thank you, Rob. I appreciate it.